Hey, YouTube, Prof Sales coming at you with another episode of Revenue Wrap, where we introduce you to people in the reselling community and have them tell you about their businesses and how they have tackled this game of reselling. So hopefully you guys will be able to hear us okay. We'll make sure the sound is good, and I think it'll be okay. But we have with us tonight Tiffany and James. Tiffany, James, how are you guys doing?
Good. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for being here. If you guys don't remember, we actually met Tiffany and James in a video. I guess it's probably been about 2 or 3 weeks now, and you guys shared with Karen and I. We went down and saw their setup they have for selling, so on. We'll get to all that. But these guys are the real deal. They have a big eBay business that has, since we last spoke to them, has grown even further by about 20%, which is pretty amazing. Oh, somebody's selling something. And we're going to hear all about that tonight, guys. So if you're interested in having a partner in your business, if you're interested in scaling up your business to a bigger degree, if you're interested in consignment, we can talk about that. If you're interested in knowing how to, talking about employees, as well as, a setup for photographs and things like that, tonight's show is for you. So bring your questions tonight, guys. We will try to get to them, but we're gonna do a couple little introductions and hear some background. So Tiffany, I want to start with you because you've been selling on eBay for a long time. And could you give us a little bit of background, like how you got started, what your motive was for doing this, and how you and James became partners as well. So that would be great if you could share some of that.
Sure. I actually got started with eBay 16 years ago. I started just part-time, just selling things around the house. Never really thought of it as, something that could ever, support a family or be a full-time income. And I stayed part-time for about 6 years. And then I had a son that required me to stay home a little more. So I turned it into a full-time business. And here about 2 years ago, I kind of hit the proverbial eBay wall and decided I was going to sell my business. And that's where James came in, and I'll kind of let him finish.
All right.
I've been interested in getting into the eBay business for a little while prior to that. I was living in Wisconsin before, moving here. And I guess I had, I left my old job, so I had a bit of time on my hands for the transition. And we met through a friend. And, she told me that, I have a friend who's interested, who, is selling her business. So, I met with her, and then we discussed, transitioning her business, to me. And then, I started doing it, and I quite enjoyed it. But, it was also nice having her experience and expertise to guide me through the start of owning the business. And then slowly I kind of reeled her in.
Wait, you reeled her in. So she was ready to leave, but how did that conversation go? How did you convince Tiffany? And Tiffany, what made you decide to stay, part of this business?
I guess there's aspects of the process that I prefer doing, and there are aspects that Tiffany prefers. So, and they're different. So we kind of are compatible in that way. So she, likes the listing. I prefer photography and that kind of thing. And so we figured we, see how it went, and, we got on well, and, the business started to flourish. So, I mean, it already was, but,
right.
But it went well. So we decided to stick with it.
That, and he's better at answering customer questions, and dealing with having to call eBay if we have an issue, which are things that I absolutely hate, and those were the main reasons why I just wanted to kind of you know, do something different. But, you know, eBay's in the blood. So I think even if I had have sold completely over, you know, my business to James, I probably would have just started another one.
So obviously you guys are both doing this full time now and with a partnership. What's it like having a partner? Like, I mean, because partnerships for a lot of people can be tricky because of conflicting personalities or different objectives you have, or just a different way you have of working. So how has that evolution been with you guys working together as partners?
I think, you know, we've done fairly well because we do complement each other in the fact that we're very goal driven. You know, we look for the same things. We're both kind of perfectionists. And I'm very straight and to the point. And James is a good listener, so that helps. So he takes direction very well.
I mean, I realize that I'm new to the business, and, you know, obviously she has the 16 years experience. So, you know, I'll ask about, you know, different methods and, you know, try and come up with like new ideas and that kind of thing and bounce them off her. But for the most part, you know, I realize that, you know, she knows how to run the business and that kind of thing. And I do what I can to learn the process from her. So.
Right. And is the long-term goal, and I don't know if you guys have planned this or not, but is the long-term goal to maintain this partnership indefinitely, or is there still a thought, you know, Tiffany, maybe you'll be out of the business at some point, or maybe James will be out of the business at some point? Have you guys talked about that, or what does that conversation look like?
Well, I think we're both, you know, we're doing pretty well, and we're both happy.
Right.
I don't think that either of us are looking for an out. You know, what we're doing is working, so we're in it for the long haul.
That's great. That's great. Like you guys found the magic formula, I guess, to make it work. So congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So you guys, now Cara and I came down and saw your setup, and you're primarily clothing resellers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about your setup and your space that you have there, because you guys, by the way, just so everybody watching at home and someone will know, how many listings are you at right now?
We just looked. It was 4,946.
Ah, that's so, man, we got to let you guys go so you get that next 54. So basically 5,000 listings.
Tomorrow night, we should be at 5,000.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. 5,000 listings. So, man, that's a huge, I mean, that's a great accomplishment. So congratulations on that, because that is awesome. So,
and we literally started our partnership together, I think 9 months. It's been about 9 months.
Yeah.
So we started with 0 listings and grew it to 5,000 listings in the last 9 months.
okay, man, that is tremendous. So, and that includes, if I remember right, or doesn't include consignment listings as well, because you guys had a consignment store and now you still do some consignment listings, correct?
Right. We only have about 150 consignment listings. I'm not actually actively pursuing new consignments. We wanted to test the model out. And, you know, we do make some money on it, but I think we make way more when I source the product. So
yeah,
that, and, you know, sometimes when people aren't in the reselling business, they think their items are worth way more than they actually are.
I bet.
So sometimes we can have interesting conversations with people, you know, and I just, you know, for us, I don't think it's something that's viable that we'll continue to do.
Right. So it'll probably dwindle away and you'll focus more on sourcing your own items and bigger profit margins and all those things. So let's talk about that space a little bit, because you guys have quite the setup there. And I remember we shot some video while we were there, but I realized after I left, it's like, man, I missed like a whole inventory room
Yeah, the room we're in actually now. I don't think you came over here.
That's the one. Is that the one to the right when you come in, sort of when you first come in?
Yep.
Right.
And
okay.
you know, it's rows upon rows.
It's got a few things in it. So tell us about the space. Like, how did that happen, and what's the setup like?
Well, initially we had the old office, and that was, I think, to begin with 800 square feet, something like that.
Yeah, it was about 800.
So, that we quickly run out of space, and then we rented like a couple of other smaller rooms together with that, but then that quickly filled up. So we were looking for, a bigger space. And then, we thought we'd, try out the whole store thing too. So we initially thought we'd do like, half eBay, half the store. And so that's how we first set it up. So that's why we have like inventory on this side, and then, all on the other side, the rest of our inventory. But then, then we decided, just keeping it online seemed to be the best option for us. And so, we've, then, assumed this bigger space. And so we've tried to make the best of that, and, try and get more organized with, our inventory and that kind of thing. Right. So like this room here is like mainly dresses, and then over on that side is mainly tops, and then somewhere in the middle is like the pants and jeans and stuff like that. So
yeah, and you guys have, and obviously you're enough room there for basically 5,000 listings at this point. How much larger can that space hold?
I think we're probably good here till about 20,000.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because we just recently started trying to put up in the next room over. It's called an outrigger, but it attaches to the wall, so you can, bring your inventory up.
Mm-hmm.
But the wall is brick, and it's pretty hard to. he's been fighting with it. I've just been watching and laughing. So
wall's getting the best of James, so they tend to do that sometimes. So you guys think you can scale to 20,000? Is that in the works? I know you've talked about 10,000, but man, 20,000. What kind of changes would 20,000 require for you guys to get to that level? What's your plan for that?
Well, we would probably have to hire, more employees on top of what we have now. And for us, mainly, we're going to have to have a more comprehensive training program. Because looking, at time, it's not viable for me to sit down and one-on-one train somebody.
Right.
And do it to the scale that we're going to need to do it to, eventually get to 20,000 listings. So yeah, by the end of the year, we're looking at being at 10,000.
Will that require, I know you guys have what, one full-time employee? We
have one full-time, and then we have another part-time. She mainly does photography. So
okay. So what would 10,000 look like, you think? If you get to that at the end of the year, are you going to have two full-time or 2.5, or what does that look like, you think?
I think we'll need one full-time photographer, and maybe two full-time listers.
Okay. And you guys, because you guys are primarily, I may be speaking for you. I know James does a lot of the photography because he showed us a setup there, which is an awesome setup, by the way. And, but you guys do a lot of sourcing too, right?
Right. She mainly does the sourcing, but we want to kind of move, as we grow, to like both of us being able to do, more of the sourcing, and be able to have like our employees take care of like the photography, the listing, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Well, guys, if you're in the chat room and you guys have questions, make sure you type the word question or some question marks in front of it, and we will do our best to ask Tiffany and James what your question is. And I saw one here that Stone had asked. What's up, Stone Mason? Says, oh, there's another sale. Do they pay hourly or by production? I guess they're speaking of your employees.
We pay hourly, and that may change. As when we first hired our lister, we started her at a lower rate until she learned and could maintain speed. So we've since raised her, given her 2 different raises based on her productivity. So right now, you know, with what we're paying her per hour, we require her to list at least 10 items an hour.
Okay.
So.
And that's pretty doable, you think, for most people? I mean, it sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah, it's because by the time, you know, she gets it, you know, measurements are done, the listing title is written, photos are edited. So it's just, you know, filling in the blanks.
Right, right. Okay. So you've got your setup there. You've got your employees to work. You've got a plan for the future. But let's talk about some nuts and bolts. Let's shift gears for a moment. I have seen you guys sourcing. So I have a little experience here. And Karn is my witness too. And I got to say, guys, if you're watching at home, Karn and I went to the bins today, okay? The same bins that we went with Tiffany and James to. And Karn and I spent 2 hours in the bins today. That's literally what took us. Now, we also went in the little extra store at the beginning, but it's really small. It's not a big area, and we didn't really look at that much in there, although I did find some good finds. But we spent almost 2 hours sourcing. And we got about 60 pounds, I think, today, maybe 61. Okay. Tiffany and James went with us, or we went with them, however you want to look at it, or met them there a few weeks ago. It was December 31st. It was New Year's Eve. And in about an hour and a half, they sourced like 2.5 times that amount or something like that. I don't remember how much you got. It was like over 100 pounds, it seemed like. How do you guys source so quickly? Like, what are you looking for, especially at the bins? Because I know there's a lot of people out there who the bins can be a little bit overwhelming. What is your strategy?
For me, when you've been doing this so long, you get to learn certain patterns and designs and fabrics that are by certain designers. He laughs because I can spot things like clear across a Goodwill, and I'll hightail it because I'm like and he'll be in the middle of saying something. I'm just like, hush, I'll be back. Like, I just take off running. But you know, that's how I source.
We were buying a table at this garage, and there was like boxes and of like other stuff, and there was like this single box of clothes, like 15 feet away, with a bit of material sticking out, and she's like, "That looks like Lily Pulitzer." And you know, so we asked if we could see the box, and sure enough, it was a
Lily Pulitzer pair of pajama pants.
Pajama pants was that?
Yeah.
So
and we were at this like kind of, it was like she set it up kind of like a flea market, but out of an old I don't know, but
yeah. So she knows her stuff.
Yeah, it really is. I got to tell you guys, like, if you ever come to South Carolina and you get a chance to go source with Tiffany and James, you should do it because, man, they move through a store. I'm telling you, like, there's efficiencies there and obviously experience. But you guys really are fast at it. And just having that experience and that eye for it is such a huge part of it, obviously. So we had a couple other questions coming here I wanted to ask. Camilla asked, how long did it take you to get to that many listings? But maybe a better way to ask that is, if you had to start over at 0 listings and you could maybe have an employee or not, or employee and a half, however you want to look at it, how long would it take you to get to, say, 5,000 listings?
Probably, honestly, about 7.5 months, because we did take a month and a half off whenever we moved here. Right. And we started 9 months ago. So,
wow. So you guys ramped up that many listings in just over a half a year, basically 7.5, 8 months.
Right.
Right.
That's awesome. I struggle. I would struggle to get 20% of that. I don't know why, but you guys are grinding it out. There's no doubt about it. DSPY9 asks, what's your average sale price, if you want to share that? And do you guys charge shipping? I'm not sure.
Yeah, we do charge shipping. So our average sale price it's not high. It's like $11.50. Mm-hmm. we live on bread and butter items. We do, occasionally have something that's super great, but, we're just selling everyday things.
Right. And your cost to get those goods, because you're shopping bins, because you're shopping smart, is pretty low. I mean, I'm going to make a guess that your average cost per item has got to be like between $1 and $2. Maybe, right?
It's less than $1.
Oh, wow, man, that is awesome.
Yep.
And that's basically women's, correct? I mean, are you guys sourcing men's clothes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do some, but it's, I want to say like less than 5%.
Yeah, for us, it's harder to find guys' clothes because they're usually very worn.
Yeah, we wear our stuff out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so if you're sourcing for under $1, or even say it was $1 when you factor everything in, which it sounds like it's under because a lot of it's, and even if you're selling at 11, I mean, that's 11 times your money. So, and if you're turning volume, that turns into some pretty big dollars. Right. A couple other questions came in here. Let's see. Stone asked, do you use 30-day or good to cancel listings, and why?
We start everything out on a 5-day auction, everything. And it's not because things sell well at auction. They don't. It's because I've never seen it written anywhere, but just through personal experience, I've learned that if eBay originally was an auction site, eBay loves auctions. Typically, you get boosted a little bit in search if you're running auctions. So mainly we just do auctions to get people to our store. So
that's smart.
Then once it's done with that, then everything goes good to canceled. So.
Okay, so you run as an auction, and if it doesn't sell after one auction cycle, you flip it to good to cancel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And you're going to know that because it's going to end. So,
right.
If it's an end of listing, now make it good to cancel. It's very simple. Nice. Mm-hmm. I like that. I like simplicity. Let's see what other questions. There's several other questions. And by the way, guys, if you guys are liking the content, we got 82 people watching, which is awesome. So thank you for that. Please hit the like button and show Tiffany and James some love for the content they're bringing. Because guys, I mean, they're living a dream that a lot of us live, to have, this bigger store and full-time business that can support, 2 families, 2 different partners here, as well as some employees and so on. So please hit the like button if you are liking what you're hearing, and I greatly appreciate it, as do they. Barbie asked if you're doing free shipping or buyer pay, which you mentioned you're charging shipping, I think, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we charge.
Let's see. I thought I saw another question. Stone asked, why do you go to good till cancel after the auction? Is that just to minimize list, like dealing with that item any longer?
Well, there's multiple reasons.
Okay.
The first reason is whenever you go good till canceled, and it relists itself after the 30 days or whatever, right, you maintain all of your watchers. And that's important because every time you run a sell, then, they're notified, and then, they'll come back and shop, even if they don't buy that particular item. But whenever you end it, after the 30 days or whatever and start over, then you lose all those watchers, and those are very important. And the second reason is we have so much inventory, it would be very chaotic to try to keep track of, what's been relisted, what hasn't. So it's kind of like a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that point, that your watchers, that's a great point. And I probably didn't even know it, much less think about it, that if you run a sale, your watchers get notified of that. So if you got someone who's watching an item and you send out a sale, notification, they're going to get it.
Right.
Man, that's awesome. I had no idea. That's a good reason to keep it going just for that. Someone's asking about the price. Do you change the price when you move it to that good till canceled, or keep it the same as you did the auction price, or how does that work for you?
Usually I bump it up by $2 and then add, well, this is within the last month. I started adding the best offer.
Right.
Yeah. And I've been so resistant to best offer because I just figured, that people would lowball me and it would aggravate me, and got time for that. So but it's worked out really well so far.
Yeah, because you can do that, automatically decline if it's below a certain amount, and I do that too. I tend to do it on a little bit pricier items sometimes, because sometimes I feel like there's a range there where people might fall in that I can maneuver, but yeah, best offer's got some benefits to it. Jeff Grant asked, how many items do you guys average a day listing? That's a good question.
It varies, but per week we're averaging, 300 or better.
Wow, 300 a week.
Yeah.
So, man, so that's 1,200 a month. So yeah, that's 14,000 a year.
Yep.
That's not very many. Actually, that's a lot.
You have to go source it all, then yeah, it gets to be quite
that's a fair point. I mean, you have to go source it too. You got to take photographs, but you guys have a pretty sweet photo set up, and that looks like that process goes really quick. Just the idea of having your lights set up, your photography area set up the same way every time. You don't have to move things and recreate the whole setup. That's really good. Let's see. I'm trying to catch all the questions, guys, but they are flying by. So sorry if I miss any of them. Judy Bailey. Okay, here's a good first time question. A lot of people ask questions sort of like this. Says that she is starting to sell broke, finding things in my house. Do you suggest getting started that way on eBay?
Yes. And, look for things that you wouldn't think you would sell, remote controls to things you don't have anymore. Those are great. If you have broken cell phones, broken GPS units, if you have an old vacuum cleaner, take the belts, the canister, take all the pieces off, to make it easier to ship, and people will buy those things.
Right. So there's a great tip right there. Like old electronics and so on are not necessarily worthless. Some people, keep those electronics. They like them just fine. I've had luck selling brand new VCRs before, and it's like, it's like whatever. But what do I care? Someone that, by the way, you guys keep hearing cha-chings. That's their phone. That's not mine. Mine is not cha-chinged one. Well, I think it did cha-ching once. There's another one. So you guys are hearing their sales. Average shipping cost?
Well, most of our things are first class, so $3.99. If it's padded flat rate, well, I think it goes up tomorrow, doesn't it? Shipping. So we'll have to raise that, but
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I had this lady who she had made me an offer on a pair of jeans, I guess right as it ended. I don't remember getting the offer, honestly. And she sent me a message because she was mad because now the offer got relisted, and I guess it was probably like a day later. It was like the next day, and it gotten relisted. And she said, not only did you relist it at a higher price, you also increased the shipping cost. Because because it was on sale, I had a sale going, and then when it went off and it relisted, it did not stay on sale price as
Right.
It went back to the regular price, and I put my new shipping costs. I was like, well, look, here's why. And by the way, shipping went up. So I don't know when I'm going to sell this item. I might sell it a month from now, and the shipping rate is going up very soon. So
right.
I don't know what you want me to do. It's USPS. What can I do? Anyway, I don't think that's satisfied, or she didn't buy the jeans. So
right.
I'm not sure I understand this question. Is there a way to avoid? Well, let's start with this one. Here you throw this away, which is a great name. Sell-through rate. What kind of sell-through rate do you guys get? I mean, what percentage of your inventory do you sell through? Maybe daily or weekly or monthly? I don't know how you track it, so I'll just leave that open.
I'm not even sure. Do you know? I know it had dropped drastically for the, for the month and a half that we weren't listing. It's coming back up.
What was it?
I would say it's probably about 20% of our inventory per month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that will work out to about 0.7% or something like that, maybe a day, somewhere around there. So yeah, I mean that sounds pretty reasonable. There's lots. I mean I think that's in line with a lot of people who sell clothing.
Yeah.
Unless you're selling like the super hottest fashions and trends,
Right.
it kind of takes a dip. Mine's kind of around that total as well as of late. Maybe just a tad higher, but not much. So that seems reasonable. I'm not sure what that question. Okay, Valina Hunley has I may have mispronounced that name. If I did, my apologies. When you first imagined doing this is your question. When you first imagined doing this, what was your first year like? And what was one key change you made in the second year that jumped your level of success? Oh, that's a good question.
Boy.
You got to think back.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. My first year, I didn't really take it seriously. So I don't think I did, a ton of business. I think I was happy if, I made like 100 or 2 in profit a month.
Right.
But at year 6, when I decided to go full time, I think my goal back then was to make around $1,000 a month. And the only process I changed was listing every single day and being very diligent. And, you have to care for your business, in customer service aspect. You can't let questions go unanswered. You have to ship everything out on time. One day, we ship everything next day,
right.
Sometimes same day. If you take care of your customers will take care of you. And that's always, been the way I've looked at it. And I've always just sold, based on how I shop. So I get completely aggravated if I order something and it takes, 4 or 5 days for a seller to ship it out. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's so good. I mean, just the idea that, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think you just kind of summarize it really well there, Tiffany. This idea that, so many people get into reselling, they think it's about, I'm going to buy something and sell it. And I never want to deal with a customer question. I don't want to deal with a return. I don't want to deal with anybody. I just want them to send me money.
Right.
And we forget there's a real life human being on the other side of that equation, and they don't always see it the way you do. So,
right.
And they're expecting you to deliver, right? I mean, you've promised them something in a certain fashion, in a certain condition, and in a certain time frame for a certain price, and they expect it. And that's not unreasonable.
Right.
And I think a lot of resellers maybe forget that. They just they think, I'm not a big business, so I don't have to act like one. But that's kind of what people expect from you, right? I mean, have you gotten that too? That people expect you to provide a pretty high level of customer service, even if you're just small time.
Right. Well, it kind of goes back to the old adage, dress for the job you want. In eBay, you need to behave like the business you want to become. So if you're, playing by, a part-time seller rules, you're going to get part-time seller results. So, and I don't mean that like, a part-time seller can't make money, but, you just have to, maintain your customer service and be professional and do what you say you're going to do. And sometimes over deliver and under promise.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't say that any better. So I think that's definitely great advice for people. You know, if you want to become bigger, you know, you're going to have to act. You're going to have to act bigger if you're going to become a larger company, and you're going to have to act like a larger company and not have this sort of mom and pop, you know, mentality the whole time. And no, that's really good. Thank you for that. Let's see. I've probably missed a couple questions because the scroll was going down. Someone asked, do you get the corporate rate on shipping for USPS?
We ship through eBay, so we get the commercial base. I don't think they do the commercial plus anymore.
Yeah, it's like the same one I think you get like if you go like through stamps.com or something, right? I don't think it's
right.
Than that.
Yeah, it's, you know, we could probably negotiate a better rate, but looking at the cost of our time, you know, putting all the tracking numbers into,
right.
You know, it's just, you know, it's such a headache and not worth it. So.
Right, and that makes sense. Let's see. Camilla had a question that was kind of interesting, sort of a technical question. For an item, say a dress, for instance, which I know you guys sell quite a few dresses and so on, as I noticed here in your inventory. Do you put them in just a category without a subcategory, or do you add a subcategory for each size and item? So do you use subcategories in any way?
Well, our store categories are set up by size. They start at women's size 0 and go up to women's size 24, and at 24 it'll say like 24 plus. As you know, again, I set my business up the way that I would like to shop, and I know that I'm probably not the majority by any means, but you know, if I go into a store, I kind of would like to only look at my size items. So that's why I've done it that way. So it's like women's 0, 2, 4, 6, and so forth and so on. And if it's a junior size, say like it's a junior size 7, then we'll put it in women's size 6 and women's size 8, because typically that's where the measurements would kind of hit. So
right. So your store, so your categories are set up by sizes and so on within a gender or category.
Right. And then, you know, we don't do a ton of men's stuff, so we just have one category where all the men's stuff that we have is put into. So, and I think we have like around 100 men's items. It's not a ton. So
yeah, come on, James. The men need to represent here.
Hey, you guys' clothes is like so boring. It's all beige and gray and
yeah, but some of it sells for really well and sells for good money. I have to say that Ben's, the store outside of the Ben's in Charlotte, it does have some nice men's clothes in it. I mean, some of it they're crazy on their prices, which
right.
You know, we know how that goes. But they had some today. I was just laughing, going, "What are they doing back there?" But you know, but it was some nice stuff, and I was glad to see it. Let's see. There were some other questions here too that I wanted to get to. Ed De La Espriella, I probably butchered that name, but ask tips on organizing that much inventory. So you guys have pushing 5,000 units for all intents and purposes at this point. How in the world do you keep them all organized?
Grab that. Well, I don't know if they can see it. We tag everything and it's all barcoded. Each listing gives, you know, where it's at in our inventory. Like, you know, the Z racks back here, they're all numbered. So if, you know, it goes on rack Z6, then that will be at the end of the listing. And we know when we go to ship, you know, to look for that dress on Z6.
Yeah, and you guys have a lot of single SKUs. So if I remember last time you said you could go and look and find the item just kind of even by the description, or you can print the manifest and it's got the picture on it, you know, sort of the black and white picture. But
usually we just carry the tablet with us.
Oh, okay.
And pull the inventory that way.
Yeah, so you're actually looking at it as you go to get it. You're looking at a picture
Right.
of the item. Oh, that's smart. Yeah, that makes sense. I've tried to do that too, but I always drop my iPad, so I just have to. You know, it's like, I found the inventory items, but I broke my iPad, so I'm kind of
Right.
out money. You know, that didn't work
Yeah.
out. Judy asked, let's see, what's her name on YouTube, which is Palmetto State Pickers, correct?
That's it.
Yeah, and that is in the description of this video, guys. If there's a link to their YouTube, along with a link to their Facebook page from their business and so on, so you guys can go on there, and that'll be a good way to, if people want to get a hold of Tiffany and James, that'll be a great way to get a hold of them. And I can tell you guys who are watching the show, Tiffany and James have joined the Rebels of Reselling, our Facebook group we just started last week, and they have already started answering questions and giving feedback. So they're definitely active in the community and are willing to give back. And you know, that's always a good thing when somebody who's got a lot of experience and so on is apt to share it.
Don't judge us based on the solo video that's on our YouTube, because I literally did that like yesterday, and I'm not a techie. I am older in years. So
Tiffany, you know, do this instead of this.
Yes, I did do that. So
yeah, we'll give you a break on that, because everybody, when they start YouTube, is usually a pro at making videos. I would never have any crappy videos at the beginning of my channel.
But like this, I had to go to YouTube and like search, how do you make a YouTube video? So we'll blame it on the guy whose video I watched.
You know what? It's a skill set you have to learn like anything else. I mean, it doesn't,
Right.
You're not born knowing it, and it does take some practice. And I can tell you, as from personal testimony, you get better at it every time. So let's see what else we got here. I'm probably missing some questions. The inventory question, Adam asked, and we already kind of covered how they use it. And they use barcodes, and barcodes allow them to scan items and take them back on their inventory. Because you guys use, I know you've talked about this before in the previous video, but if you wouldn't mind talking for a moment about, you use an inventory software, correct?
Right. And it's a monthly service, sorry, that you pay monthly. It's Ricochet Consignment is the name of the software. And they just rolled out an e-commerce side of it, which, you know, we haven't done a tutorial with them for that.
Right.
But mainly just, you know, it tracks what we have in inventory. When we sell something, we scan it and it takes it out of our inventory. So at any time with, you know, the push of a button, we can see how much we have, you know, number-wise, dollar-wise, how long something's been here, you know, which that part's nice, because whenever you're doing good to canceled, it's oftentimes hard to figure out, you know, without clicking on each individual listing, like when something was listed. So
Right. And so you guys have a great software solution there that just really allows you to keep track of where everything's at. Does it also do like your, you know, like a basic P&L for you guys too, or do you use an accountant, or both, or what does that look like on that end?
yeah, it does a P&L, but it doesn't account for everything. So we do have an accountant that, you know, does everything else for us. So.
Right. So, and that makes sense. It's nice to kind of have that info at your fingertips when you need it. So let's see what else we have here. Someone was asking if you guys do a make offer, if you ever use the make offer option on your listings.
Well, usually just respond to offers.
Yeah, we've started within the last month using the best offer, or, you know, whatever it's called. So
they said make offer in the question, but I guess they mean best offer. So.
Yeah. We just started using that, and it's, you know, it's working out well. So.
Yeah. Let's see here. What else was going on? Do you do buy it now or auction? Express that. Yeah, we actually already covered that earlier. They start with a buy it now, or with an auction, and then progress to a buy it now, good till canceled model. Wicked Picker asked, I missed this one earlier, on auctions, do you guys set a reserve price, even though eBay says it can, because it can cause buyers not to buy your item? Even though, so the question is, do you guys use reserve even though eBay thinks that that causes buyers not to buy?
I always start everything at a price I would be happy to take for it. I don't, I typically don't do 99-cent auctions. Now, in the last 2 weeks, I've ran some 99-cent auctions with shipping charged, of course, just to like boost our matrix a little bit, or however you say it, a little bit, to kind of, bring ourselves up, because we did take some time off with the move from the old office to here. So. Okay,
makes sense. I have a couple other questions too, and I really haven't gotten to too many, guys, because most of these questions have been coming from the chat room. And so maybe these will help with some other people. I know that you guys are, talking about scaling your business up. And that's something that actually I'm focusing on a lot this year as well, Karin and I. And I know a lot of people out there want to scale their business up to, certain levels and so on. But the reality of scaling a business up and the dream of scaling it up are two different things, right? I mean,
right.
So let's talk about inventory. Let's talk about sourcing for a moment, sourcing enough inventory. I know where you guys live in this area of the country and what resources roughly you have around you. And my question is, how do you guys, how do you guys think you can source enough items to push up to 10,000 listings, or maybe even 20,000? Because obviously your sell-through percentage may go up or down, but the number of items you sell is definitely going to increase. You're going to sell more per day, per week, per month, which means you got to source more and photograph more and list more. And I know you guys have talked about, you've told me and Karin about at least one out of the box method you might consider for it, which you may or may not still be considering. And you can share that if you want. It's totally up to you. But how would you guys source, roughly 2 to maybe 4 times as many items as you are now to get to those higher levels?
Well, truthfully, right now, for the volume we're doing, I'm really only spending 1 full day sourcing. So I have 6 more days a week I could go. And, there are other options out there if I decide that I don't want to do that anymore. We've gotten some quotes to buy like a container of credential clothing. And what credentials are is it's untouched donations. So it's not been cherry picked. You're getting fresh donations. So, that's still on the table, because the price point is right. That I think that even with, if only 20% of it were good, then we would still be, less than $1 a piece. So.
Yeah. And you guys talked about that. And it's definitely a big risk because it's a pretty big capital outlay.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to think about, it's like, man, if you can get the items to sort of come to you,
right.
That saves tremendous amounts of time. Even if it's not that huge a percentage that you can use. Stone asks, does everything start with 5-day auctions, or do you pick certain things?
Everything is at 5-day auction. Yeah.
And do you schedule when you start those, or do you just do it 5 days from the moment they get listed? Do you schedule your listings?
We don't schedule. Our lister does everything on draft during the day, and then at night, I'll push everything through. And I try to, push listings through between 7 and 9 o'clock at night, because that's usually like the most active time on eBay, because I want auctions to end when people can actually be at their phone or their computer to bid. So.
Right. Okay. So the tip there for you guys watching is set your drafts, and then when you want them to go live, if it's an auction, you want them in at a certain time, just start them 3 days from that, or 5 days, or 7 days, and Then you avoid any fees for scheduled listings. Although I don't know, are auctions even, do they charge you fees for scheduled listings? I'm not sure. I don't do auctions. So
If you schedule them, yeah, it's like 10 cents or something like that in auction, but drafts you can save for free. So
right. Okay. Let's see some other questions here. Henry asked about, do you guys use InkFrog or maybe any other third-party apps for your people who are listing and so on to use?
sorry.
I was gonna say we tried it for a while.
InkFrog. Yeah.
Right, but it didn't really work for us. The format was different, and we found that with the drop downs being different, when it went to eBay, not all the drop downs were filled. So then we kind of not get bumped up in the listings like we were just going through the regular eBay software. So we lasted maybe a month with it, and
we noticed a significant drop in sales for the month that we used it. So
right. So
like, okay, yeah, that's out of here.
So you think InkFrog in your case actually had a negative effect on your business, not just because of how to use it, but also maybe even your sales weren't importing correctly, your listings weren't importing correctly,
Right.
or something. Yeah, and I've actually heard some other people talk about that. So you got to wonder if there's something there, maybe glitchy. And nothing against InkFrog. I mean, I think it's a fine product, but there could be certain cases where it's just not working right.
Right. That and it does use, like, I don't know if it's HTML. Like I said, I'm not techie, so I don't know for sure. But like the listing, like the item description box looks different, and there's more fluff in there, so it makes it less mobile friendly. And 60-something% of our sales come from mobile, so we don't want to lose that.
Yeah, we've tried to keep all our listings as uniform and as simple as possible for mobile and as well as PC.
Right, and that makes sense. Yeah, InkFrog is one of those things. It's like, it could be good, but you definitely, your mileage may vary.
Right.
And I fooled around with a little bit too, and I kind of had the same experience. I was like, I don't know about this. It didn't seem like it was totally in sync with everything, but others may, have a different take on it. Krillin asked if you guys go to estate sales. Is that a source of inventory for you? Estate sales, or even garage sales, yard sales, anything like that?
During the summer, James will go to yard sales. I don't. I just feel weird being at somebody's house, touching. I don't know. I'm strange, but
wait a minute. I gotta stop you right there. You have a weird thing going into people's house, but you will tear through the bins like nobody's business.
Right, because it's less personal. Like, I go to someone's yard sale and like there's nothing there that's worth my time. Like, I don't know. I would probably buy something just to not be rude, but yeah.
How much for this teapot? All right, $2. I'll take it.
Right.
I don't even drink tea, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So not too much on the other. So basically, you guys are, and I know you guys hit thrift stores as well in your area, not just the bins and so on, but other thrifts, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and the interesting thing is too, I'm going to say just a little disclaimer here. I know where their shop is, and I'm going to tell you something. It is not any big, huge metropolitan area. It is not close to tons and tons and tons of retail and thrift and all these other opportunities. I mean, there are some around, obviously, but I guess the reason I bring that up is because you guys are kind of living proof that you don't have to be surrounded by all that stuff to have a successful business and find inventory, right? I mean, you guys have done really well at finding inventory.
Right. You can't, be afraid to travel to get what you need for your business. I travel, how far is Charleston? Like 140 miles either way, from me to get inventory. So
come up by you guys. So.
Yeah, we've driven to Charlotte, so.
Yeah. And that other Goodwill that you found out about, I'm going to give you credit. I'm going to take credit for that.
I forgot.
The one you came back from when we met you guys up here, and we met there right after lunch. We went there right after lunch. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So I didn't know if I wanted to name it or not. So people be stalking us at these Goodwills and so
right.
on. Yeah, you never know, right? But yeah, so there's definitely ways to do it, even if you don't live in an area that seems full of merchandise. You just have to be efficient, right? Because I mean, you guys are, and do you guys find this is a question Karen and I have debated before. And I know, like, I know, Tiffany, you have more experience with the sourcing part than James does, but do you guys ever think about splitting up when you source in an area, or do you feel like you gain enough efficiency when you're in a store together that it more than makes up for not being in two places at once?
We have split before.
Yeah, we do some of both.
Yeah.
So.
Do you prefer one over the other, find one more efficient, or?
I think together we're more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. James is better at, like, having everything ready for when we go up to checkout, so it's an easy, painless process. And like, he double checks everything that I get to make sure that I haven't missed anything, damage wise. But most of the time, I shop like a crazy person, so it's usually just
confirmed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was still like on my first table, and Tiffany had already gone through like 4, and I'm going, what in the heck is going on? Yeah,
there's stuff flying and babies crying and I don't know.
That's the quote of the night. There's stuff flying and babies crying.
That's right.
That's kind of true. Well, listen, guys, we've got time for maybe another question or two. So if you guys in the chat have a question, please type it now, and we'll try to get in right here under the wire. Thank you, guys. We are close to 100 people watching here, pretty right near it. So if you're liking the content, smash that like button. Let us know that you're enjoying it. And I have a question here from Express That, who said, it's a technical question, technology question. What kind of camera do you guys use for your pictures? And maybe how do you get photos back and forth from that to your lister and so on?
Well, at the moment, we're just using a regular point and shoot camera.
I think it's a Sony.
We've kind of played around with, like, using a tablet or a cell phone. But at the moment, neither of us have like decent cell phones or tablets. But we're looking into getting, like an iPad or an iPhone 7. From what we've experimented with, it should, like, save us some time in the process to be able to, do it on the phone, do a bit of the listing on the phone before, having.
I don't know. I think I've changed my mind on that. Sorry. Yeah. I think the way that we do it now, we'll usually do batches of like 50 items at a time. James will photograph them, then give me the SD card, I'll edit, and then it goes on to the lister. So I think it's just easier to have like all 50 items done and ready to go instead of, take a picture, add it, whatever we were doing before. But yeah, sorry.
So you guys take
my mind on things daily. So.
so you guys take all the photos, you have them on SD card, and then you're going to edit them at some point, and then those are going to get connected to those items to be listed. Because obviously you got to have. Well, I don't know. Maybe you're just taking shots of the tag, so you list from the tag. I mean, how do you make sort of the transition from, like, there's an item, I photographed it, I've edited it, now it's got to get listed. But how do you match the photo to the listing? Do you have do you have the item with you in your hand when you do that, or what?
It's always with us whenever we're adding photos to the listing. So.
Okay, so you're basically keeping them together, which makes sense. So that way you don't have any. And you guys are definitely batching tasks, right? I mean, it sounds like you're splitting up the whole process the whole way.
Right.
Everything's been allocated to whomever's the fastest at it. So he's fastest at photography. I'm fastest at tagging and measuring and editing photos. Right. And then Chelsea's the speed demon on the keyboard, so she gets to do all the drop downs and fill in the blanks for, you know, the listing template. So
nice. So division of labor, splitting it up splitting it up into the different tasks, but batching those tasks to get efficiency. So
right.
All really good tips. Well, guys, we're right at the top of the hour, and we're just right at 100 viewers as well. So thank you guys for that coming out tonight. I do want to respect my guest time. I told them it would be a 1-hour show, and they have to get to 10,000 listings. So right. They've got a lot of work to do, so we can't keep them too long. But hopefully you guys had fun, and hopefully you guys will come back and give us an update and see us in the future. And I'm sure we're going to see you guys as well too.
For sure.
So, all right, guys. Well, listen, I think that's going to do it for tonight. Thanks for coming out and checking out our show tonight with Tiffany and James. We hope you got a lot out of it. Leave them a comment or you know, a question down below after this video post, and consider subscribing to the channel too, so that way you can get all of the videos when they come out. And how can they get in touch with you guys? What's the best ways? I know we talked about a couple of those before the show.
Right. We have a newly formed Facebook group, Palmetto State Pickers, and a new YouTube channel, Palmetto State Pickers. So that's it.
Probably be the best way for now.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys can find them on there. And, you know, if you got questions and so on, they've been more than generous with their time and their advice. And you guys hopefully will get a good answer. And, you know, you can just learn from these guys who've been doing it for a long time and have learned all these lessons about how you scale up a business to a really big business on eBay. So, all right. Well, listen, everyone, that's going to do it for tonight. And we will see you guys soon on the next episode of Revenue Wrap. Take care, everyone.